Hey guys! In today's video, we'll meet Solara Draven, a woman who faced a near-death experience after battling a devastating cancer. She returned with a surprising revelation about Jesus and the true power of the Virgin Mary that religions hide. What she witnessed on the other side will leave you speechless. Before we start, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any content. Now, get ready for this incredible journey. My name is Solara Draven, and I have a story to tell that completely changed my perception of life and death. It all started when I was 38 years old. At that time, I was an ordinary woman, with dreams and plans for the future, just like anyone else. I worked as a literature teacher at a local school. I was married to Caden, the love of my life, and we had plans to start a family soon. My life seemed perfect, until one day, during a routine self-exam, I felt a small lump in my left breast. At first, I tried not to worry too much, thinking it might be something benign, but something inside me told me I needed to investigate further. I made an appointment with my doctor, and after a series of tests, including a mammogram and a biopsy, I received the news that would change my life forever. I had advanced stage breast cancer. The doctor's words echoed in my mind like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Miss Draven, I regret to inform you, but the results indicate late-stage breast cancer. At that moment, I felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. All my hopes and dreams for the future seemed to be crumbling before my eyes. How could I face this? How would I tell Caden, my mom, and my students? So many questions were running through my head, and I felt completely lost and scared. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. I cried, I screamed, I rebelled against fate, but I also received unconditional love and support from Caden and my mother. They were by my side every step of the way, giving me strength when I thought I had none left. Thus began my journey of fighting cancer, a journey that would last 3 long years and take me to the limits of what I believed I was capable of enduring. Little did I know that this battle would not only test my physical endurance, but would also lead me to an experience that would transcend the limits of life as we know it. The 3 years following my diagnosis were a roller coaster of emotions and physical challenges. Treatment began almost immediately after diagnosis. I vividly remember the day I started chemotherapy, the antiseptic smell of the hospital, the constant sound of the machines, and the sight of other people in various stages of treatment, some looking hopeful, others visibly dejected, were all burned into my memory. The chemotherapy was brutal. The side effects were relentless: constant nausea, extreme fatigue, hair loss. Every day was a struggle to get out of bed. There were times when I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. My body, once full of life, now felt fragile and foreign to me. After months of chemotherapy, radiotherapy came. The daily sessions were exhausting, and the skin around the treated area became red and irritated. I felt like I was being burned inside and out. Then came the surgeries, 5 in total, each one leaving more scars, not just on my body, but also on my soul. The mastectomy was particularly difficult. Losing such an intimate part of myself made me question my femininity, my identity. The bone marrow transplant was the most intense procedure. Preparing for the transplant involved even stronger chemotherapy, which practically destroyed my immune system. I spent weeks in isolation, battling infections and debilitating side effects. Throughout this time, Caden and my mother have been my pillars of strength. Caden spent nights at the hospital with me, holding my hand as I shook with fever or vomited uncontrollably. My mother cooked meals I could barely eat, but her presence was an indescribable comfort. Despite all their efforts, after 3 years of intensive treatment, the doctors gave me the devastating news. There was nothing more they could do. The cancer had spread, and my body was too weak to continue treatments. They gave me the option of spending my last days in the hospital or at home. I chose to go home. I wanted to be surrounded by the love of my family, in a familiar and comfortable environment. The days that followed were a mix of intense physical pain and moments of deep emotional connection with my loved ones. It was during this time that, In the midst of almost unbearable pain, I looked up to the sky through my bedroom window and made a silent request. Please, God, free me from this suffering. Little did I know that this request would be the prelude to an experience that would fundamentally change my understanding of life, death, and everything that lies beyond. The night that everything changed began like so many others. I was in my bed, my body weak and consumed by illness. The pain was a constant presence, sometimes a sharp stab, other times a dull throbbing that spread throughout my being. Breathing was becoming increasingly difficult, as if each breath required a Herculean effort. My mother was sitting next to me, holding my hand. Her eyes, although tired, never left my face, as if she feared I might disappear if she blinked. Caden was on the other side of the room, his back against the wall, his face buried in his hands. I could hear his muffled sobs, and my heart broke that I couldn't comfort him. As the night progressed, I felt a subtle shift. It was as if my body was becoming lighter, the pain that had tormented me beginning to dissipate. At first, I thought it was just the effect of the pain medications, but I soon realized it was something more. Suddenly, I had a strange sensation, as if I were floating. It was then that I realized I was looking at my own body lying in bed. It was a surreal sight. There I was, my physical body, pale and still, as my consciousness, my essence, hovered above, observing the scene. I saw my mother leaning over my body, silent tears streaming down her face. Caden had come over to the bed and was holding my other hand, his shoulders shaking with suppressed crying. I wanted to tell them that I was okay, that the pain had finally stopped, but I couldn't communicate. At that moment, I realized that I was not alone in this new perspective. Beside me, a luminous figure appeared. It was a man, or at least he had a masculine shape, dressed entirely in white. His presence radiated a peace and kindness that was almost palpable. He didn't speak, but he extended his hand to me. Without hesitation or fear, I took his hand. The moment I did, I felt a wave of love and acceptance wash over me. All the anxiety, all the fear that I had felt over the past few years simply dissolved. The man in white began to guide me away from my room, my body, my earthly life. As we drove away, I looked back one last time. I saw my mother and Caden hugging each other, crying over my still body. I wanted to comfort them, to say that I was fine, that I was free from the pain, but I knew I couldn't. As we ascended, the room, the house, and soon the entire physical world were left behind. It was as if we were passing through layers of reality, each one brighter and lighter than the last. The feeling was indescribable, a mix of freedom, peace, and a dawning realization that I was about to experience something beyond my earthly understanding. My heavenly guide was gently leading me through this new realm, and I found myself anxious and curious about what would come next. Little did I know that I was about to embark on a journey that would forever change my understanding of the universe and my place in it. As we moved further away from the physical world, a new reality began to unfold before my eyes. Suddenly, I found myself in a vast ethereal field, so beautiful it defied earthly description. The field stretched as far as the eye could see, covered in roses of such vibrant colors that they seemed to pulse with a life of their own. But what really took my breath away was not just the sight of these heavenly flowers, but the sound emanating from them. Every rose sang. Yes, he sang. It was a melody so pure, so harmonious, that I felt as if every note was touching my soul directly. The colors of the roses went beyond any spectrum I had ever seen on earth. There were shades I didn't even know existed, colors that seemed to contain entire universes within them. Some roses glowed with a soft golden light, others twinkled like multicolored stars. Each flower seemed to have its own personality, its own story to tell through its unique song. As we walked through the field, I noticed that the ground beneath my feet, if I still had feet like that, was not solid like it was on Earth. It was as if we were floating on a surface made of pure light and energy. Every step we took gently undulated the field around us, as if we were walking on water, but without sinking. The aroma that filled the air was equally indescribable. It was a fragrance that not only could I smell with my sense of smell, but that seemed to penetrate every fiber of my being. It was as if the air itself was made of love and peace, enveloping me in a comforting embrace. As we moved through the field, I realized that the song of the roses was not random. There was a harmony, a cosmic symphony in which each flower played its perfect part. The melody seemed to tell the story of creation, of divine love, of the interconnectedness of all things. My guide, still holding my hand, smiled at me. No words were needed. I understood that he wanted me to fully experience this moment. I closed my eyes, or whatever my eyes were in this form, and let myself be completely enveloped by the music and the energy of the field. At that moment, I felt a profound transformation happening within me. It was as if every note, every fragrance, every color was cleansing my soul. All the pain, all the fear, all the anguish that I had carried during my battle with cancer was being washed away, dissolved by the pure beauty and love that surrounded me. Tears, if they were tears in that form, ran down my face, but they were tears of joy, of liberation. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. There was no more fighting, no more suffering. There was just the absolute certainty that I was part of something much bigger, something infinitely beautiful and loving. As I stood there, immersed in this transcendental experience, I began to understand that what I was experiencing went beyond any human concept of heaven or paradise. It was a state of being, a reality where love was the fundamental force that connected everything. I looked at my guide, my heart overflowing with gratitude for this incredible experience. He smiled again, and I knew our journey was just beginning. There was more to see, more to learn, more to experience in this realm beyond life as I knew it. As we walked through the field of singing roses, something on the horizon caught my eye. In the distance, I saw an intense glow, as if the sun itself was rising. But as we got closer, I realized it wasn't the sun, but an entire city radiating light. It was a breathtaking sight. The city seemed to be made entirely of gold and precious stones. The structures were of an architecture that defied earthly logic, buildings that seemed to float, towers that stretched to impossible heights, and domes that reflected colors I had never seen before. The city's streets were paved with what appeared to be pure gold, but not a cold, metallic gold as we know it on Earth. This gold seemed alive, pulsing with an energy of its own. Every step we took made the streets glow even more brightly, as if they were responding to our presence. The buildings were adorned with what appeared to be diamonds, sapphires, emeralds, and other precious stones I couldn't name. Each stone glowed with an inner light, as if it contained entire galaxies within it. The beauty was so intense that it almost hurt to look directly at it. As we approached the city, I noticed that there were no gates or walls. The city was open, inviting. There was no feeling of exclusion or separation. It was as if the city was saying, "Welcome, you belong here." As we entered the city, I was enveloped by a sense of peace and belonging that I had never experienced before. The air vibrated with an energy that I can only describe as pure love. Each molecule seemed to be alive, conscious, part of a great cosmic symphony. As we walked along the golden streets, I began to notice people, or were they souls, around us. They radiated light, each with its own unique glow. Some I recognized immediately. My grandfather, who had died when I was a child, my childhood best friend, who I lost to a car accident when I was 16, even my old literature teacher, who inspired me so much to pursue a career in teaching. Reuniting with these loved ones was moving beyond words. There was no need to speak. It was as if we could communicate directly from soul to soul. I felt their love, their joy in seeing me, and the certainty that, in some way, they had been with me throughout my earthly journey. My grandfather came over and enveloped me in a hug that seemed to contain all the love in the universe. In that moment, All the memories of our relationship on Earth came flooding back. The summers on his farm, the stories he told, the smell of his pipe. But now, these memories were more than just memories. It was as if I could relive every moment, feel every emotion, with an intensity and clarity that transcended earthly experience. My childhood friend smiled at me, and in her smile I saw all the dreams we shared, all the laughs, all the tears. I also saw what could have been if his life hadn't been cut short so soon, but there was no sadness in this vision, just a deep understanding that every life, no matter how short, has a purpose and meaning in the grand scheme of the universe. My old teacher looked at me with pride, and I could feel the impact his words and teachings had not only on my life, but on the lives of every student he touched. I saw how every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, created waves of positivity that extended far beyond what we could imagine on Earth. As I interacted with these dear souls, I began to understand that in this place, in this golden city, time and space did not work like they did on Earth. Past, present, and future seemed to coexist. Each moment was eternal, containing within it all possibilities and all realities. I looked at my guide, my heart overflowing with emotion and gratitude. He smiled, as if he understood perfectly what I was feeling. With a gentle gesture, he indicated that our journey was not yet over. There was more to see, more to experience, more to understand in this realm beyond life as I knew it. With one last look at my loved ones, knowing somehow that it wasn't really goodbye, I followed my guide. We were heading towards the city center, where an even brighter light was shining. Something told me that the most profound and transformative thing was yet to come. As we approached the center of the Golden City, the light intensified to the point that, if I still had physical eyes, I would certainly have gone blind. However, in this spiritual form, I could withstand the brightness, although it was still overpowering. In the heart of this radiant splendor, a figure began to materialize. As the shape became clearer, I felt a wave of recognition and awe wash over me. It was Jesus. He was not the Jesus of Renaissance paintings or Hollywood films. This figure was both familiar and completely beyond any earthly representation. His face radiated such deep, unconditional love that I felt completely exposed and, at the same time, completely accepted. His eyes, his eyes were like portals to infinity. Looking at them was like diving into oceans of compassion, wisdom, and love. Each look seemed to contain entire galaxies of understanding and forgiveness. Jesus did not speak immediately. He simply opened his arms in a welcoming gesture. Without hesitation, I threw myself into his embrace. The moment his arms wrapped around me, I felt like all the love in the universe was hugging me. Every wound, every hurt, every regret I had ever felt was instantly healed. In that embrace, I experienced a sense of belonging so profound that it made all the moments of joy I had ever experienced on Earth seem pale in comparison. It was as if, for the first time, I fully understood who I was and what my place was in the grand scheme of the universe. When we finally separated from the embrace, Jesus spoke. His voice was like music, reverberating not just in my ears, if I still had them in this form, but in every fiber of my being. Look to the light and live, he said. These simple words contained universes of meaning. I understood that the light was not just the physical glow that surrounded us, but the essence of divine love, truth, compassion. Living didn't just mean existing, but fully embracing that light, letting it guide every thought, every action. Jesus continued, the path to true life lies in love, forgiveness, and service to others. Every act of kindness, every word of comfort, every gesture of forgiveness you offer resonates in eternity. As he spoke, I saw images of my life flash before my eyes. I saw the moments when I chose love over hate, forgiveness over resentment, generosity over selfishness. I saw how these choices, however small they seemed at the time, created waves of positivity that extended far beyond what I could have imagined. But I also saw the moments when I failed, when I let fear or anger guide my actions. However, there was no judgment in these views, just understanding and an opportunity to learn. Jesus then touched my heart, or whatever the center of my being was in this spiritual form, and I felt a warmth spread throughout my entire being. It was as if he was planting a seed of light within me, a light that I knew would continue to grow and guide me no matter where my journey took me next. Remember, he said, you are never truly alone. Divine love is always with you, within you. Trust it, let it guide you, and you will find your way home, no matter how dark the night may seem. As I absorbed these words, I felt a transformation occurring within me. It was as if layers of fear, doubt, and limitation were being dissolved, revealing my true self, a self intrinsically connected to the source of divine love. I looked again at Jesus, my heart overflowing with gratitude and love. He smiled, and in that smile I saw the reflection of all creation, all the beauty and all the purpose of the universe. I knew this meeting had fundamentally changed me. Regardless of what came next, I would carry with me this experience of unconditional love and total acceptance. It was a precious gift, a light that would shine in me forever. After the moment of deep connection and revelation, Jesus gently took my hand. His touch was both comforting and electrifying, as if every cell of my being was being awakened. There's something else I need to show you, he said, his voice filled with a mixture of love and a sadness that I couldn't fully comprehend. Suddenly, the scene around us changed. We were no longer in the bright center of the Golden City. Now we find ourselves in a dark and desolate place. The air was heavy, filled with pain and suffering. With a start, I recognized where we were. It was Golgotha, the place of crucifixion. But this was not a softened representation that I had seen in paintings or films. It was real, brutal, and agonizing. Before me, I saw Jesus on the cross, but he was not the serene and resigned Jesus that I was used to imagining. This Jesus was in agony. His body shook violently, covered in wounds and blood. His eyes, once filled with love and compassion, now reflected unimaginable pain. What shocked me most, however, was not the physical pain I witnessed. It was something deeper, more intense. Around Jesus, I saw a dark, dense cloud. Within this cloud, I could discern images, flashes of cruelty, hatred, selfishness, every form of darkness that humanity is capable of producing. With a shock of realization, I realized what I was seeing. This cloud represented the sins of humanity, all the evil and suffering that ever existed or would exist. And Jesus was taking it all in. The voice of Jesus at my side, who was still holding my hand, spoke softly. This was the weight I carried, not just the physical pain of crucifixion, but the weight of all the darkness of humanity. Tears ran down my face as I watched. The depth of Jesus' sacrifice hit me in a way I had never experienced before. It wasn't just about dying for us. It was about taking upon himself all the pain, all the evil, all the darkness that ever was or would be. Why? I managed to whisper through my tears. Why put up with all this? Jesus smiled gently, although his eyes still reflected the pain of the scene before us. For love, he replied simply. For you, for every soul that ever was or ever will be, that you might be free, that you might know divine love without the barriers of sin and guilt. In that moment, I felt the weight of my own mistakes, my own failures. All the times I had hurt others, all the times I had chosen selfishness over love, it all felt like it was crushing me. Jesus, sensing my distress, spoke again. That's why I'm showing you this. Not so you feel guilty, but so you understand the depth of forgiveness and love that is available to you. Give me your pains, your failures, your regrets. With these words, I felt an invitation to release everything that was weighing me down. I closed my eyes and, in my heart, I offered Jesus all my failures, all my fears, all my pains. As I did this, I saw in my mind these things being absorbed by the dark cloud around the crucified Jesus. But instead of adding to his pain, it was as if my surrender was somehow alleviating his suffering. When I opened my eyes again, the crucifixion scene was gone. We were back in the radiant light of the celestial city, but something had changed inside me. I felt lighter, more free than I had ever felt before. Jesus looked at me, his eyes again filled with that infinite love I had seen before. "Remember this," he said. "No matter what you've done, no matter how dark the night may seem, my love and forgiveness are always there for you. Always." I nodded, feeling a gratitude so deep that words could not express it. I understood that I had witnessed something of incredible magnitude, something that would forever change my understanding of love, forgiveness, and sacrifice. As I absorbed this experience, I felt like I was being prepared for something more. There was yet another revelation to come, another truth to be discovered on this journey beyond life. While I was still processing the profound experience with Jesus, I felt a subtle shift in the atmosphere around me. The light, which was already intense, seemed to take on a new quality, softer, more welcoming, like the glow of moonlight on a clear night. Suddenly, a figure began to materialize before me. At first, I thought it was just another blessed soul from the heavenly city. But as the figure became clearer, I felt a wave of recognition and awe wash over me. It was Mary, the mother of Jesus. However, just as with Jesus, this was not the Mary of Renaissance paintings or church statues. The figure before me was of a magnitude that defied earthly description. Mary radiated her own light, as intense as Jesus, but with a different quality. If Jesus' light was like the sun, warm and radiant, Mary's light was like the moon, soft, comforting, but equally powerful. His face was transcendently beautiful, with eyes that seemed to contain oceans of compassion and wisdom. His presence emanated an authority that surprised me. He was not the humble and submissive figure I was used to imagining. This Mary was an immense celestial force, a presence that commanded respect and admiration. When she spoke, her voice was like heavenly music, reverberating not just in my ears, but in every fiber of my being. "Welcome, my daughter," she said, and in those two simple words I felt all the love of a universal mother. Maria reached out her hands to me, and without hesitation, I took them. The moment our hands touched, I was flooded with a wave of understanding that left me stunned. I saw Mary not just as the mother of Jesus, but as a cosmic force of protection and intercession. I have seen how she has guided and protected countless souls over the millennia. I saw her crucial role in the salvation of humanity, not just as the mother of Jesus, but as an active and powerful guardian of souls. "My daughter," Mary spoke again, her voice gentle but charged with power. "Many on earth do not fully understand my role. I am more than just the mother of Jesus. I am the protector of all souls, the intercessor between the divine and human." As she spoke, I saw images of Mary appearing to people all over the world, in different times and cultures. I saw how she has guided, comforted, and protected those who seek her. I saw his mantle stretching over the earth, offering refuge and love to all who seek him. "My love and protection are available to everyone," she continued. "No matter your faith, your background, or your past mistakes, I am the mother of all, and my heart is open to every soul who seeks love and guidance." As I absorbed these words, I felt a transformation occurring within me. My understanding of Mary, and her role in the divine plan, was being completely redefined. She was not just a historical figure or a distant symbol of piety. She was a living, active, and incredibly powerful presence in the universe. Maria then placed her hand over my heart, and I felt a warmth spread throughout my being. It was as if she was planting a seed of her own strength and love within me. "Take this with you," she said. "Wherever you go, whatever path your journey takes, know that my love and protection will always be with you. You are never alone." Tears of gratitude and reverence ran down my face. I felt transformed, uplifted, as if I had been touched by a force beyond any earthly understanding. Maria smiled, And in that smile I saw the reflection of all the maternal love in the universe. "Go now," she said softly. "Take with you what you have learned here. Share the love, compassion, and truth you have experienced. And always remember, I am with you, guiding and protecting you every step of the way." As Maria's presence began to dissipate, I felt filled with a new understanding and a new purpose. I knew that no matter what happened next, my view of the world and my understanding of the divine had been fundamentally transformed. The revelation about Mary's true role and power was the culmination of my spiritual journey. It was a truth I knew I needed to share with the world, a message of love, protection, and divine intercession that could bring comfort and hope to countless souls. After the transformative encounters with Jesus and Mary, I felt a subtle shift in the atmosphere around me. The celestial light that enveloped me began to gradually diminish, and a feeling of heaviness began to settle within my being. I understood that the time to return was coming. My celestial guide, who had remained silently by my side all this time, approached. His face radiated deep compassion as he spoke. "It's time to return, Solara. Your journey here is not yet complete." A part of me wanted to protest. How could I leave this place of absolute peace, love, and understanding? How could I return to the world of pain and suffering I had left behind? As if reading my thoughts, the guide smiled gently. "Remember, Solara, you do not return the same person you left. You now carry within you a spark of divine light, a deeper understanding of love and universal purpose. Your mission now is to share that light with the world." I nodded, understanding the truth in his words. I had been transformed by this experience, and I knew I couldn't keep what I had learned to myself. As I prepared to return, I saw flashes of my fourth land. My mom and Caden were still there, their expressions a mix of pain and hope. My heart sank when I saw her suffering, but now I understood that even in the pain, there was a greater purpose. Before I could fully realize what was happening, I felt a force pulling me back. It was as if I was falling through layers of reality, each one denser than the last. The heavenly visions began to dissipate, replaced by the physical reality of my room. The impact of returning to my body was intense. Suddenly, all the physical sensations came back at once, the weight of my body on the bed, the air rushing into my lungs, the sound of the heart monitor next to me. I opened my eyes slowly, blinking against the soft light of the room. The first thing I saw was my mother's face, streaked with tears, but now lit up with an expression of shock and joy. "Solara," she whispered, almost afraid to believe what she was seeing. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. Caden, realizing I was awake, ran to get the doctors. In the chaotic minutes that followed, as doctors and nurses entered the room to examine me, I remained in a surreal state of calm. Despite the turmoil around me, I felt a deep peace emanating from within. The doctors were perplexed. Not only had I woken up from a state they believed to be terminal, but all signs of the advanced cancer that had consumed my body seemed to be gone. Exams were carried out, specialists were called, but no one could explain what had happened. To me, however, the explanation was clear. I had been touched by the divine, transformed by a love that transcended human understanding. The seed of light planted in me by Jesus and Mary had blossomed, healing not only my spirit but also my body. In the days that followed, as I regained my strength, I began to share my experience with my family and close friends. I saw how my story touched them deeply, bringing comfort, hope, and a new perspective on life and death. I realized this was just the beginning of my new journey. I had been given a precious gift, not just a second chance at life, but a profound understanding of divine love and universal purpose. Now my mission was to share this light with the world, bring hope to those who suffer, and help others understand the true nature of divine love and protection. As I prepared to leave the hospital and face the world again, I felt a mix of emotions: gratitude, humility, and a sense of purpose I had never experienced before. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, There would be skeptics. There would be challenges. But I also knew I wasn't alone. The love of Jesus, the protection of Mary, and the divine light that now resided within me would be my strength and my guide. My journey beyond life had ended, but my true mission was just beginning. It's been 5 years since my near-death experience, and every day since has been a journey of discovery, growth, and sharing. The transformation I experienced wasn't just physical. It was a profound shift in my soul, in my understanding of the universe and my place in it. In the first few months after my return, I faced many challenges. There were those who doubted my story, who tried to explain my experience as hallucinations caused by approaching death. Doctors continued to be perplexed by my miraculous recovery, performing test after test in an attempt to find a scientific explanation. But for every skeptic, there were many more who found hope and comfort in my account. I began receiving invitations to share my story at churches, cancer support groups, and even near-death conferences. Each time I shared, I saw how my words touched people deeply, bringing a new perspective on life, death, and divine love. One of the most significant changes in my life has been my new understanding of the role of Mary. I realized that many people, even those of Christian faith, did not fully understand the magnitude of his presence and power. I began to speak openly about the revelation I had about Mary as a powerful heavenly force, an active protector of souls. I saw how this message brought special comfort to many, especially those who felt alone or abandoned in their time of need. My relationship with spirituality and religion has also changed profoundly. Whereas before I saw faith as something distant and sometimes abstract, now I experience it as a living, palpable reality. Every moment of prayer, every act of kindness, every choice of love over fear, it all became a form of connection with the divine that I experienced on that journey beyond life. However, not everything has been easy. There are days when the weight of responsibility I feel, the responsibility to share the truth I have experienced, seems overwhelming. There are times when I long for the peace and clarity I felt in that heavenly realm. But in these moments, I remember the words of Jesus and Mary, that their love and protection are always with me. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and feel that spark of divine light that resides within me, renewing my strength and purpose. My experience also profoundly changed the way I view life and death. Death is no longer something to be feared, but a transition to a higher existence. This understanding allowed me to live each day with more fullness, more gratitude, and more love. Every moment became an opportunity to manifest a little of that heavenly light in the world around me. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that the near-death experience was just the beginning. The true journey has been living each day with an awareness of divine love, heavenly protection, and the greater purpose we all have. It's been about bringing a little bit of heaven to earth, through every act of love, every word of comfort, every moment of compassion. I know my mission is far from over. There is still a lot to learn, a lot to share, but I am grateful for each day, each opportunity to spread the light that I have been shown. And I know deep in my heart that when the time comes for me to make my final transition, it will not be an end, but a glorious return to the heavenly home I was privileged to glimpse. To everyone who reads my story, I have this message. You are loved beyond your understanding. There are heavenly forces working on your behalf, even in the darkest moments, and within you resides a spark of divine light, waiting to be recognized and shared with the world. Never doubt your worth, your purpose, or the unconditional love that the universe has for you. My journey continues, and I am eternally grateful for every step of the way. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.